My name is Tessa Powell, and I was a photographer in the Mount Everest simulation.
My name is Noah Hutkin, and I played the physician.
My name is Cassie Kondong, and I played the leader.
My name is Hannah Glick, and I was the observer.
My name is Jibril Nabila, and I was the marathon runner.
My name's Leah Friedman, and I was the environmentalist.
And we are the Ambitious Failures!
Throughout the Mount Everest simulation, we gained a lot of experience on how to work together as a team. And although our team ran into several issues, including not reaching the summit, as well as not achieving all of our individual or team goals, we managed to finish the simulation without dying. However, we ultimately worked through all of our issues as a coherent team and got to the actual goal of the assignment.
In simulation, we had many benefits as a team. We communicated through every struggle that we came across. We learned new things about each other and as a group, and working as a group. There were many frustrations that we also had. We were immediately behind when we started the assimilation. We had trouble getting people to each camp that each person was at. Some people were behind and some people were way too ahead. Meeting as a group was also a really big frustration because many people had different schedules and the time management was hard to be committed to. We focused too much on the simulation at first, and we didn't realize that we actually had other assignments during this project. Being unprepared was another issue. Some people didn't bring their electronics or pencils or paper. We were getting off track, but we always recovered from that. Things that I would have done differently and we should have done differently as a group was read the directions more carefully, not to skip to the simulation super fast. Evaluate everyone's health during the simulation and not just jump into it. But overall, it was a very good experience and we worked together as a team.
Teamwork was very prevalent throughout our group project, and working together was the main thing that was basically our whole project. We had to be there physically and mentally. Without being there physically and mentally, this could not have happened at all. A lot of things that we had to do at the beginning was meet as a group, and it was a little difficult at first because we didn't know each other. It was a little bit awkward, but then once we started to get to know each other, we realized we just need to all find a time when we can all meet and it'll work. And finally we did it. It took a little bit of time because we all have different things going on in our lives, but finally we met and we had to separate it into different meetings. And our first meeting, we did the simulation. So we did the report, we also worked on the agenda, and now we're working on the video, and then we're gonna meet up one more time to go with the editing. And I think it's very helpful that we're all here together because we give each other advice, and also throughout our simulation, we had to work together because, it's not that we made it to the top anyways, but I think we made it pretty far, and we couldn't have done it without our physician. I would have died at Camp 2, so thank you. You saved my life, kind of. At first we were a little hasty. Things didn't go as planned, but that's because we were lacking
On the communication side. But we figured it out, and that's all I have to say about teamwork. It was awesome, and I loved it.
In our group, we were able to use the evaluation case that we studied in class, which we all understood our successes and failures, and we were able to understand how that affected our efficiency as a group. Also, we focused on the 5 dysfunctions of a team, and one of the main dysfunctions that we had was that we had inattention to results. And this was because our group didn't exactly focus on how each group member was responsible for certain actions, as well as how as a group together what we really did well and what we didn't do well until after we were able to get it done. But all together we came together and figured out our mistakes and our successes. Also, there was a lack of accountability. And because of that, we weren't always on time, and we had prior commitments that we had put ahead of it. So I think that was one of the big failures that we had. Our group focused on week 6 class lecture, and one of the main focuses on that was the norms in our group. And some of the norms that we had were that we each had to meet on time in the exact location that we had all committed to, as well as that we all were going to use as much communication as possible to be as efficient as possible as a group. And also we had roles we had roles in the Mount Everest simulation. However, even beyond that in our group, there were some inadvertent roles that began to develop as our group began to establish more as a group rather than a bunch of individuals.
Technology was also a very crucial part of our simulation, as it was necessary in all aspects for us to complete the simulation. We had some difficulties with this right off the bat, like some of our group members' HBR course pack wasn't working right off the bat when we first planned to accomplish the simulation. So instead of doing the simulation at that point, we ended up just using that time to plan out the rest of our meetings, and the next times we would all be available to meet to do our project and film the video and make an outline for the video and all of those things that we needed. So that was what we started out with. Another thing that was very helpful for us was the interaction design notes. We had to we all had a lot of diversity and competing interests in our life every day, so we had to learn how to deal with that in order to get together and make our time work. We also had to learn how to communicate in more of a constitutive manner, because in the beginning I think we would all agree that we were using more of like a transmission model, just like sending and receiving messages and hoping that the rest of the group was like, okay, like yeah, let's do that. And we had to learn how to talk as a whole and receive all of our messages so we could be better communicators. And we started doing that at that first meeting when we couldn't do the simulation, and then throughout it as we messed up our first couple rounds of the simulation and had to talk through everything that we wanted to do after that in order to make up for lost time.
And I think personally that the technology issues that we suffered actually brought us closer together as a group, because we had to rework our times together in order to refit it in after getting in touch with Harvard and having their tech support fix our business review packs. So I think that was really beneficial to our teamwork and how we communicated throughout the rest of the simulation.
I agree. Another thing that we looked at was the science of building new teams, which is an article we looked at in recitation. And we learned that it really works better when everybody talks an equal amount, that it's not really fair for anybody when somebody talks more than somebody else and that other people's voices aren't heard. So we talked a lot about that and we worked through those issues. And we also learned how to talk to each other in a respectful manner. So throughout the simulation, when first off, Aaliyah, our environmentalist, we skipped those first 2 rounds and then she was suddenly suffering. We didn't even realize what happened. We had to talk through that, and we didn't jump any conclusions. We didn't get mad at whoever was pressing those buttons and pushing us forward. We just talked through it. Nobody was put down by that. And it also helped us a lot better. I think we agree that when we talked face to face instead of over text or over our email communication, we worked a lot better together because everybody was always, you had to reply, you didn't have to just put your phone down and ignore it, and that really helped us as well.
Planning and coordination was very prominent throughout our simulation. At our first meeting, we planned on getting the simulation done, but due to technical difficulties, we couldn't. However, we did use this time for additional planning. The next time we met, we were able to complete the simulation. It was full of interaction regarding our successes and especially our failures. Group development was also seen throughout the simulation. We made a mistake by jumping right into the simulation without reading the directions, but once we realized we were at a disadvantage as a team, it only made our bond stronger. Our group chemistry was great throughout the simulation. We have no shy personalities, and each member was assertive and didn't shy away from conflict.
Some additional conclusions we came to while doing the simulation were time management and how effective our planning was, which at times it wasn't all that effective. Receiving and seeking medical attention we also had an issue with throughout the simulation.
I think there came a point where we were actually really good at figuring out the medical attention thing, because we started getting a system for looking at everybody's health and everything, and Noah,
our physician,
was aware of our health situations and knew exactly what we needed after we read the directions and everything, which was very helpful.
Also, despite not doing well in our first few rounds, ultimately we really got the project together and figured out the goals and working together as a team and how to achieve the actual simulation goals that we were assigned. Also, even though we didn't summit, we all worked together to make the decision not to summit, and ultimately we failed because of that, but we did make it as a team and paid the consequences.
We're not failures!